Hey everybody,
Um,
Nell and I are here
um,
and we are excited to have a live today here in our bedroom. And Nell's feeling well enough where she's able to be with us. So you can see that we're getting closer and closer into kind of her world.
Hi guys. I don't know about well enough. I've tried 4 or 5 times to get camera ready. Forget about it. You're in my bubble now. But welcome.
Well, I appreciate you being able to even just have them see a little bit of you and kind of in the world here. And I get that the people haven't quite joined yet, but we're going to get the recording really working so you can catch this on YouTube.
Yeah, when we have more people, some people come in. I know that we're a little bit earlier. We'll do a sound test. Make sure you guys can hear me okay. And then I'll have Rex just show me for 2 seconds when people are in here. Not right now.
Exactly. Well, one of the things that we wanted to do, and this would kind of be in kind of a little bit of an interview format, so bear with us, but I think that that's going to allow for us to kind of get some of the insight from Nell's story from her own words. And we wanted to go back to when you were starting to notice that there were changes in your eye and orbit area and how that was kind of gradually moving out. What was that like for you? Were you
Yeah,
noticing
I
it in the mirror?
actually,
Talk to us about what your experience was with that.
well, yeah, first, I don't know if we want to wait for more people to come on, so they're not having to go back and watch the whole thing. But I definitely wanted to give much more in-depth account of my journey, what led me to where I am now, and why I have the drive that I do to find others that suffer um, with chronic conditions, fellow spoonies. Um, but yeah, we'll wait just a little bit more. We
A little
know
bit
that
more.
it's
We'll just have a little bit of
we get as we're waiting. Rex can kind of explain. In the past, we've talked about how we actually um, are in separate rooms for the most part. Um, that's not because I don't love him, although it's nice when he's when he's naughty, put him in his corner. Um, but we can. So you notice this. Our bed is is actually two beds because they have. What are we doing?
just kind of showing them a little bit of the edge of the bed like that.
Yeah, it's okay. Because each side of the bed has their own controls because I need to be able to sit up quite a bit depending on which nerves are flaring up and how badly, um, and just maneuver my body around in ways that pillows and blankets can't do. So this works great for us.
Plus, it gets really cold in here, and I like it really
Yeah,
warm.
the two main reasons he is sleeps um, in another room. Well, first of all of our kids are grown and adults and living on their own and have their own lives. And so um, he's able to take one of the rooms because I have it as cold as humanly possible. Um, and that's because of my pretty constant fevers when you say right? 'Cause it's fever. I haven't fevered one way or another. And it's
Mhm.
my arms and then my head that gets really fevered. So if I can get it down to 45 degrees in this room with cold air coming right on my face, then that's perfect for me. Um, but not so much for most other humans. Um, and then also, oftentimes when I'm in pain, watching something or just even having some, program. I love a lot of documentaries, especially history. So just that playing in the background really helps me to think of, to have something to think of, other than the nurse screaming. So those are two major disruptions for most people, when they're needing, a good night's sleep that's very restful. And so that is that's really the right the drive behind it. Um, so, but other than that, we, sometimes he'll come in here. This is kind of even where we have little date nights. To be honest, sometimes we'll just lay here and talk or play our games and laugh. And our favorite thing to do is laugh and watch movies. But it's mostly most all him coming into my space, and like the rest of the family too. Our kids usually come up into my space, um, especially as my energy seems to have declined quite a bit over the past year. I've had chronic pain now for a long time, and it's been serious for a long time. But what's been more scary, I think, recently is I'm not bouncing back.
You're not what?
I'm not bouncing back
Oh,
like I used to be able to. And so the exhaustion is indescribable. It's almost as consuming as the pain now. So yeah, a lot of life and busyness and visits and laughter happens in this room. And would I have it differently? Of course. Um, but I'm blessed to have people that would mold around my conditions. So
adapt.
absolutely. So
It's interesting because I think that sometimes when people talk about and think about the concept of love and being in love and true love, I wonder how often it includes, and I know that it's sometimes is a test and challenge for any relationship in terms of, what you sacrifice or what you adapt to. Um, I think it's human nature to not want to give up anything and to not want to change anything and have things kind of your way. I think that's just part of coming from a space where we're just naturally immature and needing to go through various, experiences in life that are all kind of unique, but many of them having similarities.
Right.
And really, it putting you in a situation where you're needing to, um, you know, mature and kind of challenge whatever else, whatever's going on inside of you that you ultimately can become a better person to be equipped and can kind of cope and not just get through something, but to actually even thrive. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about is that you don't hold yourself to certain expectation of what the marriage or life needs to look like
Well,
to have the.
yeah. One thing that, and I don't know, I can't see from here. I'm not sure how many people are, or if anybody has even hopped on yet. Um, you'll have to let me know, Rex.
We do have some that just joined.
Um, one thing, especially, well, there's many conditions and diseases. Uh, chronic pain has its unique facets, I guess, if you will. My brother, my older brother died a couple days before, 2 days before he turned, I believe he was going to be 37. So he would have been turning 50 this year on Valentine's. He died from melanoma cancer. And in many ways, as heartbreaking as that was and still is, um, suffering with pain, a serious pain condition, or even severe, in some ways, is a more cruel condition. There's 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 reasons for that. One of them is we're expected, or we're judged quite easily and quite often. Another is we are expected to perform the same because it can't be seen unless our face is grimace, or if we're hunched over, breathing like we would like, like we would do at home. But of course, we're not going to walk out the few times we get to walk out. At least I'm speaking for myself, and do that and make other people uncomfortable. Um, I'll tell you one thing that'll smack you in the face real quick is a serious chronic pain condition. And and I've heard the term a lot lately, lean into, and I've learned to love that. And that's exactly what we've had to do for, my pain's been serious for going on 8 years. It's been severe for the past 3 or 4, especially the past two.
We're
And
getting,
as you
just so
lean,
that you know, we're getting more and more joining. So
okay, hi guys. Um, as we have, as a family, instead of, you have choices. Some people have turned their backs. Some people have walked away and said, "This isn't for me." Some of them have been absolute shock to my system, because I thought that they were lifetimers.
hmm.
Um, but but this condition not only tests the person that has it, but the people that choose to stay and stay closely. Um, it will test you in every way possible. And so, what's beautiful about it, and there's absolutely beauty within it, uh, is that if you do lean into it and decide, make that decision to continue to find silver linings, continue to refuse to see yourself as a victim, refuse to um, be someone that is not looking for blessings, all the blessings you have. It magnifies exponentially. It magnifies and magnifies, and that's what I know that the my little my little group, my little world around me has seen, and we have experienced all the beauty that it can bring that even the healthiest life can't. Um, so that kind of goes along with what Rex is saying. You were pointing. What did you want to tell me something?
Oh, Southern Boy Pride. Thanks for dropping in. He's a friend of mine. Just wanted to drop in and say much love to you.
Hey guys.
Appreciate it.
Um, we appreciate so much all of you that drop in, whether you are dropping in and have got to go, or drop in and hang out home time. You're all welcome. Um, just imagine it's our front door and we're saying, "Come on in." Uh,
We had some difficult technical difficulties on a couple of the other um, lives that we tried
that's true. So can everybody hear
recording.
both of us
The connection's well, and give a thumbs up if you guys can
hear
hear.
okay?
But they're recording both audio and video. We did a pretty good test, and we'll be uploading this if all goes well up into YouTube, so that people sometimes like to watch that later. Um,
But I'll
but
I'll say again that I think over the past couple weeks I have tried, oh, probably 4 different times to come on a live. And when I say try, I wanted to be able to sit next to Rex,
it says,
uh, you know, looking half decent.
yeah.
Um, and it just hasn't happened. And so
Earlier
just
we did a quick peek over to you. We got Sess in here, who's one of the regulars. You want to say hi real quick?
sure. Yeah, Rex is on the bed next
Hey,
to
Sess.
my bed.
We're getting
Yeah,
closer and
he's
closer into
really
our
good.
world, Sess. Here, she's gonna give you a sneak peek. Here, I'm on the bed. There's, hey, no.
Hi guys.
Oh,
Love you.
bless her heart. Thanks for doing
Yeah, you're getting closer and closer.
that. We're getting there.
You're really in my bubble now. No, I actually approached Rex today and said,
She said
these
what?
lives are more important to me than me trying to. I just can't. It's either pain or exhaustion, and I've had a lot of hard days. Um, Today being one of them. So,
Yeah.
Um, but you guys are,
Well, that's you, with you joining and you following us, you've heard it before where we kind of adapt and, when we started this out, we, and still do kind of have the goal to just have them be at, 6 Mountain Time every Thursday, but it's not going to
yeah, no, I
always be
understand.
like that, so
Yeah,
some
well,
weeks we're just not up to it, maybe both of us.
I the goal is, you guys, and I completely understand. Not that Rex is important. I'm not I'm not so much. But what I okay, I'll preface what I'm saying with I watch and have watched a lot of YouTubers mostly. Okay, that's just what I normally go to, and I've followed quite a few with different chronic conditions that have absolutely, and if you've been here before, you've probably heard me say it before, that have absolutely um, carried me in a way that no one else could. And there were days where I absolutely looked forward to them them posting or uploading, um, because when you feel connection with someone, um, for whatever reason or various reasons, it becomes really important to keep that connection. And I love that it could be from different, states away or countries away. It doesn't matter. And so I absolutely would like, and our goal is for you guys to be able to rely on us, to be here with you uh, um, a couple times a week. That's our goal.
Hmm.
And it is sporadic right now, but that is the reason we're coming to you in the way that we are tonight. Uh, very raw, unedited. Just we just talked. Man, what was it, an hour and a half ago? And I just said, look, I can't. I showered one day and tried to do my hair the next day, and I just could not bring myself to get fully ready. And
Hmm.
I so if you'll have us in this condition, then you're amazing. And we'll absolutely. This is what I can do, unless I'm in severe uh, pain where I'm needing to
Yeah.
focus on breathing. So
Yeah,
this is what
100%.
I'm able to do, and I think I can do this. So this is kind of a uh, Rex can throw on a stinking black hoodie and look good. Well, I can't. So this is what we're gonna do.
I
This
don't know
is
about
what we
that.
gotta do, guys. Hang in there. Uh,
Hey, hey, Seth, I made you a moderator. Um, I've got Nell, you, and I'll probably make Curly a
yeah,
moderator.
I definitely need some backups because right now I'm not looking at my phone. I'm trying not to look. And we wanted to do, we'll get into it now that some of you are here. I think some of you may have seen Rex's YouTube video, and he did touch on some things. And we, and really did an amazing job with how much he was trying to cover. We kind of figured that we would retell it
Yeah.
from the person that lived through it and lives through it, right? So that you guys understand more, and that if you're suffering with things yourselves, we can be more and more connected, and that you, I just want, I'm a we are very open people, and anyways, and so this is
Yeah,
what we would like to do. Um,
yeah, I
with
think
this
that's a good
live is kind
segue
of a
into
redo of the introduction, right?
yeah, it's a good segue into kind of getting your perspective on the story. I've got a 45-minute video out on YouTube that talks a lot more detail about the story, her story, and just recently I posted a 60-second that kind of edited some of the highlights of that, and we've got people, more and more people joining now. We one of the other things as part of that whole adapting and not, trying to go on a schedule so people know where we're going to go, but um, we actually was able to do this a little bit earlier, right? And so some people aren't kind of getting home from work or whatever, but and so we
This
were
one will be a little bit longer anyway, so
yeah, yeah.
it, yeah,
But with that, we've got a lot of people um, joining and even people staying. So I think that now would be a good time. Uh,
absolutely. Thank you for joining, guys. We appreciate you, all of you.
Absolutely, and I know some are will join in live, and we've got people that are following, and some consistently start, liking and commenting and getting to know us better, and we really, um,
I love it. That's
develop
our
some good
mission.
friendships, and we love that.
Yes,
So for those that are,
it's the
uh,
whole reason behind it all.
yeah, so feel free to include comment, um,
Questions?
questions if you're still, uh, getting to know us and some of the posts that are on the profile and kind of getting caught up.
Yeah, there's just, you can ask just about anything.
And yeah, we love
Um,
it. So
but where would you like to start? Well,
yeah, so I was thinking that and I was explaining earlier before a lot of people were joining that it was going to kind of be in a little bit of maybe an interviewing format because it's just maybe even easier that way. But
yeah.
one of the first questions that I would kind of have is, what was it like when you started noticing that your eye was moving out away from your face and you knew that something was wrong? And that's kind of where a lot of this started. So take us back to what that was like when you started
So I
noticing.
actually, I think it was back in, and I don't even think Rex knows this part. So, you know,
25 years, I'm still learning stuff.
yes, yes, we're going to be married
True
26
that.
years this year. Um, he was asking me some questions at a doctor's visit a few months back and learning from
True.
me. This was just a few months ago. And, sometimes it just takes asking the right question, or just asking the questions, right? So,
And in a way that's not questioning.
yes,
I mean, how many people can give me an
yes,
amen with even the best of people
absolutely.
with your significant other is asking a question and maybe they're well intentioned and it's coming across like, what about this? And are you sure? And it's kind
Yeah,
of questioning tone, right? And so it's something that I'm trying to get better at, or when you've got genuine questions and you're just trying to understand something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think a lot of us with chronic conditions already feel the guilt
Mhm.
incredibly, right? So a simple question can completely turn into something else by the time it hits our ears, and so, it takes work on both sides. The person asking, really thinking about your words and your tone.
Yeah.
And then the person, us, uh, you know, that have these conditions, giving the benefit of the doubt more often, or saying, "Is this what you mean?"
Hmm.
Um, but we had. a really, really good talk the whole time I wait for the doctor a few months back. But going back to the
Yep.
first tumor,
Seth says absolutely. So we're
yes,
getting some.
yes. And it's not easy to do. There's been some there's been some moments where I've just no, you asked it, you meant it, you knew what you said,
No
go in
do
your
overs.
room, bye. Yes.
You're you're done. I
Yeah.
think
So,
that's pretty normal. There's some straight talk. We're gonna get on some of that through
yes.
this as well.
Yeah.
Kind of normalize
Yeah,
some of this because
don't try to rewind and act like yeah. We're we're a work in progress always,
yeah,
and that's really all that matters that
yeah.
you're in progress, right? But the first tumor I noticed it. So I remember looking in the bathroom mirror and it had a like a lot of bathrooms, a vanity, the little vanity that has a mirror with the little door that opens, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have
Gonna come out
two
like this.
directions of mirror. And it was at an angle that I was just able to see my eye at an angle I hadn't seen before. And it really took me back. And I stayed quiet. It was one of those where your stomach immediately feels like it weighs 20 pounds and it just bottoms out. And I never mentioned that to Rex. I kept that to
There's
myself.
gonna be a lot in this journey that we're gonna be going through. It's also a treat for us and helps our relationship because
Yeah, yeah. This is
it's
not even something I thought to ever even tell him
yeah. I
until he
mean, it's
just
kind of like
asked
a
me.
kind of like date night on steroids, right? Because it's just
Yeah, so we had two kids. I had a miscarriage, almost 10 weeks along, and then um, we became pregnant with our third. And during that pregnancy, I could feel a huge amount of pressure behind my left eye, and still didn't say anything to Rex. So this had been 5, 6 months, and then Rex had mentioned to me. I don't remember exactly the words. I just remember him mentioning to me that he was now noticing that my eye was different, and it was actually further out than my right eye. And when we say further out, we're talking about the skeleton as well, the orbit, not just the eye.
if I can interject this real quick because I remember this being part of my experience. I think we've all have experienced being in a dressing room or something where you've got those angle mirrors
Yeah,
and you notice something about your face or whatever where
yeah.
your ear is slightly up or
Like,
whatever, and so
no, I
you're
didn't
used
have that double chin before. No, I didn't.
yeah, but you're used to seeing all those proportions
Yeah,
in a different way.
straight on,
So
straight on.
so if you all of a sudden see them in a different way, sometimes that's all it is that you're just seeing those proportions in a different way, and you're wondering is something wrong when really it's just a
Well,
little bit
it was
different. So when
enough.
you
It was enough that I knew.
but what I'm saying is that it wasn't just seeing your face as, oh well, I'm seeing my my face where instead of it being this, it's this. It was more of a no, it's beyond that. It's beyond just
That's what I was just saying.
yeah,
I knew something was wrong.
yeah,
I knew that wasn't just, oh, my left eye is a little lower than my right. No,
yeah.
it was a clear difference. Um, and I think I tried to talk myself into the, oh, it's just, but I knew. I absolutely knew something was wrong, and
And that's when you had that
especially
reaction.
when I could feel the pressure as well, right? So
That's when you had the gut.
yes, yeah. So Rex had mentioned to me that he was noticing, and that's when I opened up to him. And by opened up, I think I probably reacted like, yeah, I know, because it was hard to hear from someone else.
Mhm.
It was. I remember kind of being taken back, and he didn't mean it and didn't say it in any way to be. It was a genuine worry, but I let him know immediately. I know. I feel it. The pressure was so much at that point that I didn't know how my eye was staying in the socket.
Mm.
No, I was expecting, and I was sick with different infections, a lot of sinus infections, a lot of that. I mean, that pregnancy was so difficult. And uh, our third and last child, Abby, was born July 5th, 2002. And by January of 2003, I was having emergency surgery. Um, Went to see my regular doctor, um, regular eye doctor, and you know, I don't know if anybody's experienced this, but I have a handful of times where you have a professional or the doctor where you see the shock on their face,
Mm.
and then you're like, you
Non-verbally.
don't hear much after that because because well, that just answered everything, didn't it? But he was so. I remember he went from looking in my eyes, doing the regular eye test, to looking at my skull. And he was like, it's so much pressure that the bone itself is being affected. And he immediately sent a message to Dr. Patel at the Moran, who is
Amazing.
one of my angels.
Oh man.
Um, yeah, and I met with Patel, I think, just a few days later, and I had a surgery date for the following week. Um, the MRI showed an a large egg-sized tumor that was just starting to touch and push against my brain, and it was, yeah, my eye was not only out, but it was starting to turn down. And he explained to me that he may have to take out, I think it was about an inch size of my brow bone to get the tumor out.
Mhm. Like right
But
here.
right, he thought you would have to cut that big section out and restaple that. And I had a lot of because Patel is just one of these the best of the best. So I had a lot of my visits had interns and students, and so my first surgery, the the OR was full of residents, which I loved. My answer has always been yes to being someone they could learn from, and um, I was able to see pictures of my surgery. Um, he's done a seminar with different doctors with um, has to do with my case. And they were able to somehow get that tumor out, or he was. So there were four, if you can imagine, four kind of wires placed in. So he cuts across my eyelid, right? And almost, he leaves just enough to where your eyelid's just attached still. And then what he does is they take four kind of wires pulling in different directions and they pull it open as much as possible. They pushed my eye against my nose
Mhm.
as hard as they could, and that's how they've taken out three tumors. Um, so that was tumor number one. Um, these benign mixed tumors are rare and they can be ugly in the sense that they can turn.
Can you talk a little bit about what benign mix means? I'm sure that
Well, it's it kind of the name kind of speaks for itself, right? It's a mixture of cells. It's benign, but it can turn cancerous, and it can.
there's
What
risk.
it does, it's not a. From what I understand, it's not a real treatable. It's a very aggressive cancer, um, and then a benign mixed tumor on a lacrimal gland, which is the gland that produces any of your eye moisture and your tears, um, is even more rare, and so
Was the first tumor removal something that required Dr. Patel to work with his associates to see whether they had a concern with cancer, or did that come later? Remember where he was
he
in,
saw the first tumor. Of course, they're never ever going to try to give any answers before it's sent off to the labs. But these tumors are really interesting in the way that they're almost, I do not know how, but there's some kind of intelligence. I know that sounds weird, sci-fi-ish, but there's a reason that they say, okay, after 10 years, you're cured. After this much time, and if you have a second, because it's very, for most people, it can be pretty predictable. That's what I'm trying to say.
mm,
So after 9.5 years of having clean scans, of my eye sitting back, right back to where it was beautifully, and even my bone kind of retracting, which was I didn't know that my that skeletal part of things would be able to. It was amazing. He even said you've healed amazingly.
like each,
Every
even
time
after,
he's
like each one, we don't know, is this going to result in
no.
disfigurement,
Well,
or
anyway, so
but it
it
healed
he
remarkably well.
9.5 years he said it's safe to say you're cured. And that was that was amazing thing to hear. And boy, it was a matter of months later I started. I knew something wasn't right. I was having migraines, but I knew they weren't just migraines. I can't even really say how I knew for sure because it wasn't the same type of pressure. I was sent in to have an MRA test and an MRI, and the difference is an MRA really looks at the vessels. So they didn't know if something was wrong with my vessels because one thing they found as well, I have a cavernoma in the left temporal lobe of my brain that has bled out before. We'll get into that later. So,
So when you had the surgery, the first surgery, life goes on, you
for nine
heal,
and a half years, yeah.
they're
And it took that long for me not to be deathly afraid of it coming back. It took so long for my anxiety to settle down. And as soon as it did, and especially after he said cured, that's when it came back.
so the second one, when did you start noticing that, wait a minute, we weren't noticing, right?
No, I started having migraines. I was just saying that.
Yeah, but it wasn't
No, I don't
it
know.
wasn't
No,
visible.
no, there's totally different. I was not having pressure.
Yeah, so that
Um,
I
so like I
remember
was saying, I went in for an MRA, MRI.
that because we have just real quickly. So now we have ongoing MRI scans, and so that if anything's
Well,
detected.
actually, he had stopped them because I was cured. I was sent in for another one because I was saying something's
Oh,
wrong.
oh, okay. See,
Migraines.
this is why it's better to pet the kid.
Um, and this was just my general doctor at the time. And I remember my doctor called me from his car, and uh, you know, you know when it's not the best call. And I took the call in the closet because I didn't want our little, you know, I didn't want to have that conversation in front of the kids without Rex. And I remember I just sunk to the floor and gave myself about 15 minutes of falling apart and stood back up and, you know, we're going to face it. I don't have any other choice, but what I do have under my control is how I do it. So this time around, I went back to the Brad, and he really, really did not like the look of it. It was not smooth like the first one. It was very textured. It was very, it it was just a whole different look as far as the tumor.
Well, you're talking about after he took the second tumor out,
You know, this is I'm talking about the second tumor.
or
I'm talking about the second tumor
but that.
before he took it out.
Oh, he noticed.
I'm talking about when we went to Patel and he was looking at my MRI.
Oh, he was noticing it from the MRI. Oh, okay.
Um, so before he even opened me up, he didn't
That's what
like
I
the way
mean.
it
Yeah.
looked.
Okay. I didn't know that he was able to tell that level of detail with that the MRI. That's
And
awesome.
um,
Okay, go ahead.
they
Sure.
can tell a lot of these MRIs, for anybody that hasn't had one, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of splices of photos
That's right.
in
I remember.
all different directions, diagonally, vertically, horizontally. And for me, because there's a cavernoma in my left temporal lobe, which is just a cluster of vessels that are weak and have bled out before, um, and then my tumor, they're going to do as many photos as they can. So, um, and poor Dr. Patel not only took me on um, uh, as a difficult case with the tumor, but he always have to kind of watch out for my cavernoma as well. So he's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's still stable. Looks like blah blah, but any doctor that's taken me on has had their hands full. But anyway, he
And thank you for, sorry,
no, go
thanks
ahead.
for joining. We see more and more people coming in, and many of you are either following me or that I might not be friends with you. Leave a
Yeah,
comment.
and invite anyone. Um, I think I've said this before. Anyone, especially anyone that you know that might be suffering. That is my goal, my dream, and my biggest purpose, besides being a mom and a grandma and a wife, uh, is finding others that suffer because we just need to know that we're not alone and in a deeper sense than just people, because you can be very, very alone and isolated with people all around you. I'm talking not alone in the sense that I think of you.
Mhm.
I see you in my mind's eye. I know you're there. And I hope that I mean it's a you know, I hate to think that there's anyone suffering, but I hope I know that there is, so the least I can hope for is that we can find each other, help each other, and that you're thought of and loved. Like genuinely loved. But anyway, yes,
It,
welcome. Welcome, welcome.
one of the things that I've thought of is, of course, there's a percentage of people that are on TikTok that are in a position where they're, even if they're still in bed, that they're able to connect. And so, of course, there's the potential for us to be able to reach out to them and have them firsthand, connect with us and things. But we also know that a big percentage of what is maybe even more common is that they're not in a space where they're able to even be on TikTok, let alone try to follow someone or feel that connection. But I'm increasingly confident that everybody has someone that they care about in their life, whether it's a friend or family, that in some way or another are dealing with chronic pain
Or a
or,
chronic condition.
or chronic conditions that aren't being talked about.
And I think of you several times a day because I know what it's like. I am loved dearly, and I still experience isolation and loneliness. I know what it's like, and I also know what it's like to have someone get on social media and help others feel like, hey, you not only matter, but you're a damn warrior, and
And
you
what has done
deserve
that
to
for you?
be revered and celebrated. And um, we'll talk about. I think it's appropriate after I kind of finish kind of my journey till
Oh,
now.
okay.
We'll talk a little bit about what I'd like to start doing really soon in these lives, which Rex kind of chuckles at me because I get so excited about it. But yeah, we'll talk about that. Um,
Okay. So the second
yeah, so
tumor
that
was discovered.
so
Oh,
again,
thanks,
I was
Seth. You don't
scheduled
have
for
to
surgery.
guess.
What was that?
Follow Seth, you guys. So
Huh?
Seth is just loading us up with some presents. Those
Oh,
that are in here,
says
if you're
thank
not following
you.
Seth, she's one of my moderators and is an amazing, amazing person.
Thank you so much.
So follow her if you're not
So,
already.
so sweet. Um, again, I was um, scheduled for surgery quickly, and it was at a surgical center across the street from LDS Hospital here in Salt Lake, Utah. And I worked very hard for the couple weeks. Well, I think it was almost 3 weeks that I had before my surgery. um, Cooked only the best, or the most um, clean organic meals for myself, completely sugar free, completely. I just really, really wanted to give my body the best chance to fight this, and whatever the outcome was. Um, and it is amazing that he can do what he does and have it be same day surgery, right? So
Hmm.
we go in and
Yeah, we're in a
uh,
clinic. We're not, we go to a clinic that
it
is
was a surgical center across the street
from the
from
hospital.
LDS Hospital,
Yep. And it's supposed to just
and I
be in and
we
out.
had both sides of my family there um, to help support Rex and like before. And I'm so glad that Rex had a little army around him because after surgery, I wasn't waking up. Um, I remember somebody, and this is my perspective, so it might sound a little strange, but this is what I went through. I remember being very, very irritated because somebody was really hurting me. Um, and if any of you have ever taken your thumbs and and if you haven't, do it right now. Take your thumbs and just push it right up under the side of your jawbones. And there's a bundle of nerves right there. They like to do that when people are trying to die on them. And I remember being very irritated, like, what do you do? And it would wake me up for a few seconds before Rex said my eyes would roll back and I'd go right back.
Well, they
And I don't know how many times that happened. Go ahead.
they rolled her out, and she's in this recovery, and she's supposed to just be there and start coming to. And around the time when she wasn't starting to come to, people around her were trying to not act alarmed, and she just was acting like she was in a coma. And when they're pushing, you know, not just a little bit,
As hard as it can.
I mean, they were really digging in. She wasn't even responding to that, and that went on for what seemed forever. And when she'd come up a little bit, that's when she'd react like, what are you doing, right? Kind of a little bit irritated, but she wasn't coherent enough to
No, not at
give
all.
anybody reassurance that she's going to be okay. And you interject in because I still want this to be your version, but this is
No, it's
the next 2 hours was the most scary thing I've ever went through because they stopped doing what no they went and called in someone else.
higher up anesthesiologist,
They
the head of
escalated it,
anesthesia.
and he came in and they basically more formally said she's not okay. This is not
Well, and Dr. Patel came as well.
yeah
Stopped what he was doing and came back, and I think you said he kind of looked at me like I,
yeah
that's
she
not
should
his job. He doesn't
yeah
know. But they were, you were saying they kind of all were looking at each other like,
it wasn't
oh
it
shit,
wasn't related to his area of
right.
specialty.
But even the anesthesiologist didn't know what the hell.
Yeah, and so they're rolling her to the ER, the LDS hospital across the way, and I am freaking out, as you can imagine.
Yeah, they literally, because I remember this because it was raining. It was raining lightly, and they're rolling me. They did not even bother putting me in a wheelchair. There was no way. They took that bed and rolled me across the street. They had called the cardiology floor, LDS. They were waiting for me, and everything that they had to do, they brought it to me. X-rays, ultrasounds. It was already, and it was endless tests for I don't know how many hours. And it took until the next day, and my everything kept falling, my vitals.
Well, back up a little bit. So we get into the ER, and she's not able to get any pain medications
That's true.
because they didn't know how what was going on.
Yeah,
So she was describing to me like get this wrench out of my eye, right? Because she's feeling the raw of
yeah, go like
coming
a
out.
screwdriver
But
or
through
straight.
these initial tests that they discovered, right before we learned that her adrenals had literally zeroed out and failed. So your adrenal system, sorry, I'm not an expert at it, but with your endocrine system, it's basically what pumps the cortisol when
It's your chemicals.
you're
It's
flight or flight.
a good way to think of your adrenals is it regulates your chemicals. Without your chemicals, it's just as important as your heart and lungs. You're dead. You're dead within hours if your adrenals aren't working.
And so
It just
basically,
can't. You cannot sustain life.
before they discovered that and could give her cortisol to help get her
Right.
level, she was pretty much on her way to dying. And I,
Yeah.
I remember she looked at me
With my one eye.
and her, yeah, absolutely, Seth. Uh, love you too. Go check out those kiddos, or I mean, go take care of the kids. We get it. We're going to be on here for a little
Thank
bit.
you so much.
Um, we'll see you some more, and if you're interested in watching kind of the rest of it, we'll hope that the video will get uploaded with YouTube. Okay. So much love. Thank you.
Have a great night.
But she looked up at well, first of all, she was starting to kind of go back down, kind of out of it because she was just so weak, and her eye
No, that
had
was later. Now I'll interject.
what?
Because that whole night, my vitals. just kept dropping. That whole night and part of the next day was just they kept giving me things
Yeah.
to sustain life while they were trying to figure out what wasn't working. And part of that was my heart dipped in to the low 40s and then the high 30s, so which is not good. So, if anybody's had, and I can't even think of the name of the drug right now, but if anybody's had that drug that makes your heart beat, oh my word, does that hurt?
Oh, yeah.
Um, so that was it. Was the next day my doctor came in and it was a shock to them because it wasn't just adrenal fatigue. My adrenals failed. They completely zeroed out, which they it just even my endocrinologist hadn't seen someone zero out like that before. And it took, I remember every morning for several mornings, he would come in and he'd shake his head at me, like meaning to say, I'm I'm sorry, you know, you're not going to be going home. It was day after day after day, and they kept having to up. So, because once they found out that they were zeroed out, they had to start pumping me with not just steroids, but just a lot of other things to get everything to stabilize. And it took days and days to do that, and a lot of steroids.
But there
Um,
was that moment
there was a moment, yes,
where
when
you,
Rex and I were talking. We were having a conversation, and I was kind of halfway sitting up in my bed. And for me, I just all of a sudden didn't feel right in my head. And then Rex's voice started to become more and more distant. Now, he was just 2 feet away from me. He's kind of leaning right next to the bed, leaning on the railing, talking to me, or the rail, talking to me. But for some reason, he was becoming more and more distant. And I was barely able to get the words out, like, Rex, I don't feel right, before he seen in my eyes. My other eye obviously was covered up, bandaged up. That it was, I think, completely dilated. And I remember falling back into the bed, and I just was slipping. I don't know where. I don't know. I was slipping into a darkness, a deepness. I don't know what. I don't know what was going on. None of us know what actually happened, but that's what Rex is talking about. Is that moment? And I'll let you talk on that for a minute while I
it
go
was that,
get some more drink.
yeah,
Go ahead and talk.
there's been three, three times, regardless of everything that we've gone through over the years, but there's been three times that I was the most scared. And that was one of them. And, most scared, and let me kind of explain what I mean by why that was a different level of, of fear. Although people go through all sorts of things that are serious, even if they claim their pain is between an 8 to a 10 and they're in the ER, and while they're waiting on professionals to help them manage the pain or whatever they're going through, they're largely in some degree of composure. And so you'll almost have, even though you're still very, concerned and worried about it, I guess kind of reassured in some way that it's still okay. Things are still okay. But if you were to like arrive like at a grisly car scene and you were to witness as an EMT conditions of people that later pass and they are reacting where you can tell their body's out of control in some way, right? They're, whether that's a seizure or whether that's, whatever. She was in that space where she was moving into where this is not in my control or nobody's in control of this, right? It's just, I don't know. That's hard to,
Are we still in the hospital?
what's that?
Are we still talking about OS?
Yeah, I'm just trying to,
Yeah. And also,
you know, it was, the more, you know, if, if there's absolutely no control, even the body being able to control its vitals, then you move more closer to what we believe is the veil, and then your spirit just passes, and now it's in a realm of things that where the physical
yeah.
world doesn't have
And
control
that
over it anymore. And
that
that's where
first night,
that's where I felt like it was going. It was very
well, a
different than what
couple
it.
of times, because the first night, before they had figured out that it was my adrenals had failed, I had my own experience, a very, very spiritual experience that is very sacred to me, that I just have only told a handful of people. Um, but it definitely was more than enough for me to know how that I was close to death, and I knew that not because of what I was feeling physically. I was given, I just was given that knowledge. And what was interesting was a few days before my surgery, I had an experience with my brother who has passed, who I felt clearly said to me, live. And I remember telling my mom and my sister and Rex, like again, just a few people, and I'm sure there's some people that will listen to me say this now and think you are crazy, you're lying. Well, I don't care. It was my experience. It was very real ones. And I couldn't understand why he would say live so strongly to me until I understood that my body was dying. And so I remember my sisters and my mom came to visit, and one of my sisters wrote, on the nurse's whiteboard, she wrote live really big. And that helped me fight for that week. Keep in mind, there were several times I even forgot about my eye. It became a whole different ballgame. I went in to have a tumor removed and now was fighting for my life. And I was in there long enough for the tumor specimens to be sent off to two different labs this time, not one, because he said when he looked at that tumor, He said he's seen cancer, and that was cancer. So he sent it to two labs, and both labs called him and said, we don't see one cancer cell in here. Well, he wanted to see for himself, so he did. No one really could explain it, no one could believe it, but I kind of forgot about my eye until Rex got a call, and it was, it's that call that so many of us know. You know, those calls that just you're just not breathing. But I knew it was Dr. Patel, and I could see Rex's face almost just go pale because it's just that call to let us know whether this time it was cancer or not. I'll never forget Rex just like his body just hunched over in relief after a while of talking to Dr. Patel. And it was just so strange because I hadn't even thought about my eye until that call. And that was days later. And yeah, Rex and I went through, my word, we went through hell and back that week on many different occasions for many reasons. Yeah, um, we're just scratching the surface. That week was so, we walked through fire and we also were lifted beyond imagination. So we just, what a sacred experience. But come to find out, I was released, and you kind of think, okay, I'm being released. We did it. We were, just well, just like I said, we did it. We got through it. And little did we know I was released way too soon on way too much steroids. And so my body started swelling at a rapid rate, and I had to have an emergency visit with my endocrinologist, who said, after she looked at all my charts and everything, she said, those doctors saved your life. And she said, and they almost killed you. So, um, they saved my life, you know, getting getting the meds I needed, but also, I guess, damn near put me back into a dangerous situation because releasing me on the extremely high dose I was on without being monitored by machines
Well, because
put me in a really, really dangerous situation again.
before you went into the hospital, they were considering to send you home if you would have gone home that
Well,
night.
that was the first time.
Yeah, and then
But when they actually did send me home, they sent me home on way too much steroids and no monitoring of it. So,
yeah, even a week after in
yeah, no.
in
Yeah,
the
no, and
hospital.
it was confirmed by a few doctors that had they sent me home after, had they sent me home as a same day surgery, it was confirmed a few times to Rex she would not have woken up the next morning. There's no way that she would have survived that night. So that's really traumatized Rex. Um, I, I was on the flip side of it where I was in and out of a lot of different. I was just mentally and physically just kind of in and out. He was fully present, fully aware, and watching a nightmare. So that was the second tumor. Um, then again, it was told to us that, if you get a second tumor, if the second one comes, that your chances of getting a third are even lower. And so he watched me for a good 5-ish years, I want to say. And then I'm trying to remember exactly what it was that,
It was just the MRI
but
they
yeah,
found,
but I
just
don't know
another.
if it was a scheduled one.
Hmm.
So number 3 pops up again after he said it's safe to say that you're good now. And I remember him saying, kind of jokingly, I don't want to see you again. By this
Hmm.
time we've had like 15 years together, Patel and I, down this journey. And I'll never forget when I was in his office for a third time, and he walked in and looked at me and said, "What are you doing here with a broken heart?" Just, and this is where we get into the, now they're learning from me and
You're the
watching
first.
me.
You're their first case that this has ever happened, where it
Uh,
came back three, like you said.
so he does surgeries not just here but around the world. He's amazing. So hey, he works with amazing. He's got amazing colleagues, and again, the third time the tumor looked different than the first two. Still the same tumor, just much more fibrous, much more all over the place. And by this time, I have scar tissue, crazy amount of scar tissue. And he goes in again, and he this time sends I was able to go home same day. They were very, very amazing. Um, I believe they had 2 anesthesiologists in there this time. They had steroids ready in case adrenal failure happened again. I think I was one of the last to leave that night because they wanted to make double, triple sure that I was completely safe to go home. And and I've never not felt safe with Dr. Patel or any of the doctors and teams I've, whose care I've been under. But I was fine. My adrenals came through fine, and
After the third.
he sent those samples to um, the U of U, um, to the top pathologist, and I think he kept my samples. They looked at them for a solid 2 weeks. Um, again, not understanding how they were not seeing one cancer cell, but there was not one cancer cell. It's a bit of a mystery.
After this, after this
So
third.
that's where the pain really starts changing in my life. Is So now I've got a lot of nerves that are literally tied up by scar tissue or around my eye, and I've got just a fraction of my lacrimal gland left. Um, if I were to get another if another tumor were to grow, whether it's cancerous or not, won't really matter as far as probably needing to take my eye because there's just no way to have an eye without moisture, not even a glass eye, so not even a prosthetic. So, and if it's cancerous, they take a lot more than that, unless they've come up with some new over the past few years. Um, so that last surgery, I believe, was 5 years ago. I do have two spots that they can see, but they're stable right now, so we just watch and wait. Um, so
Remember,
then starts my pain journey, right? It's
no, I just wanted to make one comment after the third surgery. When someone's going in having surgery, there's always that nerves and the trauma that's kind of associated with are they going to make it? What's going to happen? But after we went through everything we did with the second one, we really made sure that they understood that she had these adrenal issues and to have the anesthesiast,
anesthesiologist.
anesthesiologist be aware of that and watch that. And I think that
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There
they
was two
they
of
did
them.
something different to make sure that she wasn't repeating that. And as far as
So
I
just I said there's two anesthesiologists in there. They had everything prepared.
know,
Um, Not that they haven't taken everything serious before. They've been incredible. But they knew we're not just doing another tumor removal. It's a different ball game the third time around, and they were amazing. And my endocrinologist said you should never have a same day surgery again. So they took great measures to make sure I was okay. Um, but it is safer for me to at least stay overnight. Doesn't matter what surgery, it is safer just because that was such a complete failure of the of my a complete zeroing out, and we never have figured out why. Um, and that's a little unnerving. So we just are extra careful with whatever surgeries come up, and if at all possible. A matter of fact, I've had a couple of surgeries since my tumors, and they've made sure that I just stayed in the hospital. Um,
so I want to understand, and I know that people following the story will maybe also be interested in understanding this a little bit better. Of course, the tumor removals and cutting into the eyelid area and all of that, there's pain involved that needs to be managed there.
yes.
When did the pain starting to get to a point where it wasn't just pain that was in that area, but it turned
So
into migraines and beyond that led to us going and even
so
considering the
before it was actually before my third tumor, I was really experiencing a lot of pain, and Dr. Patel overall hadn't had his other patients that had maybe similar tumor removals or eye conditions hadn't had quite as much pain as I had. So at first, it was, I think, confusing. And anyway, we went to a pain management, very highly rated. Um, Success rate with the procedure I was going in to have done because the migraines, which that was the only word I could really use to explain to anybody the type of pain, even though they've really never been just migraines. Um, anyway, I went in and they at at the point that I had gone in, he had a 100% success rate with nerve ablation, which is basically on each side of your spinal cord, just burning nerves at, you know, different points in this in the spine. And he chose, I believe, I think it was C2 through C6 that he was going to do, and he did left side one day, and that they gave. I again struggling to wake up, so that was scary for them, knowing what I'd already gone through. And so the next day, I came in for him to do the right side, and he gave me a little less anesthesia. Well, it happened to be um, a little bit too small of an amount, and I woke up in the middle of the procedure, and just was a knee jerk reaction. My body just, even though you're kind of strapped down and face down or strapped down on the table,
because they're
because they have to pinpoint
they're
where.
burning they're
Yes.
burning the nerves, and that's the idea is
And
that
if
it
they
should be
nick,
giving some relief.
and if they were to nick anything around it, you could be in trouble. So I wake up in this screaming pain of just a nerve being burned. And I remember hearing, just keep going. We have to finish it. They were already, working on the second to the last one, I think, from what I could hear. And I just had to grit my teeth and bear it for the rest of the procedure. But my knee jerk reaction, my body just jerked. And I remember letting some kind of a moan out, but I guess it was enough for Rex's parents, who were in the waiting room across the whole entire um, procedure center. They heard that. And so we don't know what happened there. We will never know. He closed his practice completely about 6 weeks after. I had seen him 2 or 3 times after that I mean, sobbing in tears, just sobbing because of the pain. And he had tried his hardest to get me out of pain. And I think something happened with his own health, and all of a sudden it was just he, they were done, closed down. He wasn't available. They weren't available. I was just left not really knowing what happened, but it introduced a whole other. Not only did it not take care of the pain I went in for, I now suffer with some nerve damage on the right side of my neck.
Hmm.
Um, so I have nerve damage and nerves caught up in a lot of scar tissue on the left side of my head from my eye, and now the right side of my neck. And what gets caught in between is my head. And we're not just dealing with pain that people have with tension headaches or cluster headaches or migraines. My neurologist helped me understand that there's these nerves, and it's like I believe they call it nervy pain. That's nerves on the outside. So I have different dimensions of nerve pain, and and we can maybe pick up next time on all the procedures I've had, all the medications I've gone through, all that that's helped with, and all that that's caused to become worse. But I've done everything that I've been asked to do. I've they've tried every procedure that they can think of, save one, but I've been denied because it's too dangerous. Um, and and I currently am doing Botox with um, different medications, and have done, like I said, different procedures that have backfired like you cannot believe. I They're damn near afraid to touch me, and what that has done is I am left. I was
Hi,
one of
Abby.
the first
Abby.
to be approved, first here in Utah to be approved for medical cannabis. Um, that has not touched it. Um, they put me on the highest THC CBD ratio.
Hi, Abby. My daughter's in here, guys.
Hi, Shaw.
Love
Um,
you, babe.
what that did is give me a 12-hour high.
Sweet.
We'll have to talk about that. That's a that's a whole
Oh
other.
yeah, space
That's,
and time.
huh?
Space and time.
It's a whole nother live, you guys.
Oh
Oh my
shoot.
word. Um,
Trying to get that.
oh my word. It was.
Abby can tell you the story.
Yeah,
I think it was us three actually. What good
it
timing.
was for the most part. It was.
We were
Abby
not
and
Ryan.
Rex sure went through it. I mean, so did I, but I wasn't as coherent. We quickly changed the ratio.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm still hopeful we can find a better strain or a better mix, or because I do like the idea of as natural as I can. But right now, and I came up with this idea for my doctors, which they all wholeheartedly agree with. And this is because, well, nobody knows me better than me, and no one knows. I have them scratching their heads anyway. So what's happening now is I even have a medication specifically in case I want to work out. And by work out, they know that that means just walking. Just walking can start a, and when I say fever, it feels like an inferno under my skin. I've walked past certain people or been near people and they can feel heat radiating from me. And that causes swelling, and it's even caused when has been at its worst, little blisters on my arms, um, which then triggers the pain. So I have a medication just for that, and it doesn't do much at all. So what has happened is I can bend over wrong. I can walk for 2 minutes too long. I can go out in the sun and get too warm or too bright. I can something can be it triggers so easily
Because now you're talking about the CRPS stuff.
Well, yeah, Liddy, I do my own research and I want them to look at something else
Hmm.
other than CRPS. I'm constantly trying to look at things and try to find out more because even in the CRPS world, I don't fit. And that needs to be said.
Oh, that's a good point.
They, it's the closest thing they could put me in, but they've never seen someone where it's happening on both sides of their body and at the extreme that it is.
But what are one of the things that what's one of the things that you go through that's CRPS related that has to
Well, number
do,
one, the burning and fevering
yeah,
and
because obviously
swelling
that's
and
different
pain.
than,
That does match the CRPS, but it's usually CRPS is very it's usually one side or the other. So one of the ways to treat CRPS is to mirror, I guess they mirror the healthy side of your body to try to trick your other side. So what it is a disconnect between your brain and your nerves. Your brain basically tells your nerves there's an injury.
hmm,
Well, whenever there's an injury, what happens? There's swelling and fever, and it's saying there's an injury over and over and over. But with me, they can't figure out how it's both sides of my face, both arms, both hands, and it is shocking when it's bad. I've had three doctors now say, "Can I get a picture? Can I take a picture?" Just you know, and when I'm out and I don't have any kind of makeup on to help cover that up, it makes me feel horrible because I know people are just feel sick for me.
because it's, you're
They
talking
know,
about the red flushing, right?
oh, it's an
The burning.
extreme amount, and it's not just that there's swelling, and anyway, where we're at now, and we are at the end of my options. We have been denied twice, and we are now pleading with an insurance company for the third time. And we have, what, four doctors on board. And and it was because I came to them and said, things are getting worse because I can't move very much at all. And I would damn near have to starve myself in order to lose the weight that I need to. And I don't even know. And I can't, number one, I have to eat with some of the meds I have. I have to eat just so I don't continually get worse with my exhaustion. And yes, I could, and I have just eaten like a rabbit sometimes with just straight, uh, carrots, tomatoes, radishes, you know. But my body is just kind of stuck now between pain, exhaustion, and I've gained weight and I've stayed the same weight that I am now for over a year. But still, that is so incredibly hard on my body. It's hard on my organs. It's my liver's going through enough as it is with all the medications. And it's, I cannot, I'm at a place where I cannot exercise. And what's happening is the bone deterioration is accelerating. And I've, with all my tumors and everything, all the things, because there's more surgeries that I've gone through that have been very scary situations, but I've never been so scared as I am now. because of the amount, because of the exhaustion. The exhaustion. I told Rex, I tried to tell him, it's so bad that if I swear I can feel it in my blood, I can feel it in my bone marrow. It's just so deep. And sometimes I feel like I could just close my eyes and it will be forever, you know. But unfortunately, oftentimes when you sleep, there's pain going on, so I get very little sleep. Sleep I get is disrupted and really, it's the opposite of anything restful because it's usually my body's still going through pain and I'm trying to just figure things out in my dreams. I'm trying to get out of, something, and it's just my body's way of trying to get through something well. And I sleep when I'm absolutely shattered, exhausted, you know, when but if I don't get this surgery, I don't know. I don't know how much longer I can hang on.
What surgery? Oh, we haven't talked about what
And
this.
I'm talking about that lap band surgery.
Oh yeah,
That's what I've
yeah.
been
We're trying to
talking
get
about.
that. We're trying to get that
So
approved for nurses.
after two denials, we're on the third try.
Well, the two denials with an earlier insurance, and now
Well, it
we've got
doesn't matter. It was two denials. So now
new
we're
insurance
trying a third
for sure.
time with four doctors on board and that are trying to convince them this is unnecessary. This is medically
Medically
necessary.
necessary.
This isn't, you know, this is a
Vanity or
very
something.
complex situation and I need the best fighting chance I have right now because there isn't procedures for me left. There isn't a whole lot of medications for me left. I damn near tried it all.
We've gone through things
It's
so carefully with all
incredibly,
these
it's so incredible
professionals.
how much I've done and gone through, and I've never said no to anything. I've always been open to trying things. I mean, I sat there, no anesthesia, no numbing. I sat there while I had a doctor put, not the littlest needle in the world, but straight in between my eyeball and my brow bone.
Yeah, just like right up
And
in here.
inside I could hear, it sounded just like crunching glass. And I asked the doctor about that because he was trying to go in and freeze some nerves. And he had to push hard to get through scar tissue. And that crunching glass that I heard inside my head, he said that's all your scar tissue. That was me trying to push through it. And, I sat there in an office while he did that right in front of Rex. I don't just get Botox in the forehead, I get it in the temples, get it down my neck, and straight in the back of my
It is
skull.
so
And
hard to watch that happen.
it's, it's an insane amount of pain because it's not just someone sticking a needle into your face and head. Goes right into my raw nerves. And so, I get that every 3 to 4 months, sometimes longer, just because it takes. Sometimes I have to reschedule because I cannot go in there and get Botox while my nerves are actively screaming. So we have to reschedule, and it's just, even with everything that I've done and everything that I'm on, and Botox I'm still doing, and medications, eh, and cannabis and other oils and everything that I've been doing, I have to manage my pain damn near every hour.
And it's made you basically disabled in
I
so
no,
many ways.
it's an extreme case of disabled. I sometimes I cry thinking and of just having to get up to use the restroom. It's that much. The exhaustion is that bad.
And then you feel guilty.
Oh, the guilt is number one. Number one. That eats me alive more than anything.
You
Not being the
have it
best wife, the best mom, the best grandma, the best neighbor, the best friend, best sister, best daughter. It just never ends.
feeling like you're letting people down, not giving them what you feel like they deserve or something.
And so we are really pushing for this, it should be same day. It's the safest weight loss surgery, very, very safe lap band surgery. And it just kind of will give my body a fighting chance at this point. Because it's been a long 8 years. 8 years of suffering. And
Well, and even if the insurance doesn't cover it, it's something that we're pretty
I mean, we're
set
set
on.
on it, but we don't know when we'll be able to afford it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're fighting it. Anyway, the other one was what was denied. The other only option was ketamine treatments. But it's still considered too dangerous for me
Too much in trial. There's not enough known
for chronic pain.
for chronic pain
They
where
do a
there's
lot more
risk.
of like um, PTSD and anxieties and depression. They do a lot more of that with chronic pain. I guess. I don't know. I've gotten different stories, but I guess they don't have enough. And quite frankly, Utah, which I find, sorry, Utah, but a lot of times Utah seems to be a little bit behind on jumping on board with alternative treatments or like the medical cannabis. Man, that took years. Um, but so Utah only has a couple places that even offers to do it, and it's not easy for them to even consider you. Well, we had Rex worked his tail off for me to be considered, and they were pretty much ready to do it. But then insurance came back and said no, and it's not cheap, so we couldn't do it. So this weight loss surgery is where we're at. And that was my idea, and it just so happens that the doctors all agree wholeheartedly that that absolutely not only can help, but at this point, it's, I think we all safely can say this is a life saving procedure. There's not much more my body can go through, I don't think.
And the hope is to be able to not only have the benefits of the surgery, but we can still do kind of what we're doing that reasonably manages your pain. Not only does it reduce the risks in terms of your life yourself, but have a better quality of life beyond what we
Oh,
try to have
absolutely.
now, right? Because we still have
Yes,
movie nights and
absolutely.
things. Yeah.
And that, look, we all know one of the best way to stop bone deterioration is to build the muscle around it. So I'm desperate. I am absolutely in a very dangerous place. And I cannot help my body protect itself I cannot help my body get stronger so that it can fight against different diseases, or it can fight against the pain better. I cannot help myself. I can't help my body um, do what it naturally wants to do. Um, and I absolutely love being active. That's one of the hardest things that's been taken away from me. And just being outdoors and just driving a car by myself, having a job, decorating, doing my artwork. It's endless. I don't, that's all
In a
been
lot of
taken.
ways,
I've
in
had,
some ways, people that are in prison
oh goodness.
have it. That seems kind of crazy to
It's not
say, but
crazy to say because I'm in prison with where my bars are a lot closer and my bars have thorns on them and I can't do half the amount of activity they do. So no, it's not crazy to say that. I and there's a lot of people suffering that are in a prison far worse than anyone can imagine.
that's one of
So
the things that it's hard to get my head around is that Nell and I and the people that are close to us know this story and our world, and maybe it's completely foreign to other people, but there's got to either be enough commonality on things that they're going through, or even things that are really, really similar, where that's the whole point of even talking about this is to try to have it. I mean, what we talk about reaching out and trying to have it make a difference in other people's life.
my
What would you kind of describe for us what would be ideal that you would see?
my point for doing this is so much for anyone that might find even the littlest bit of commonality, of something familiar, of someone that they feel like they can relate to, of someone that they feel like they can go to, someone that they can feel like they can join in our home, in our hearts, someone that they might look to and say, you know, and I'm thinking of all the people right now when I'm talking to you, of all the people that stood up and did exactly what I'm doing now. And I watched them and I listened to them and I thought to myself, and I prayed about them and just thanked them for several reasons. Oh, and told them myself, you know, thank you for being honest. Thank you for allowing me into your world. Thank you for continuing to come back.
Talking about
Thank
the
you for
YouTube
being willing
channels.
not to just, brush things under the rug or blow things over or pretend like everything's fine. The world has enough of that. We have enough of And I'm not saying we need the opposite of people, you know, being, we have enough of the covering up. The true happiness, you can tell when someone's truly happy, and those are the ones that are going to be honest anyway. Um, but we have enough pretense. We have enough, I'm going to put on a show, but it's nothing like it behind the scenes. We have enough of that in this damn world. And I'm not coming on here to say, my world is full of pain and I suffer. Okay, bye. Good night. No, I am telling you the truth and the facts, and those are the facts. But also, what is truth and the facts is that I am entirely blessed, and I wouldn't have seen blessings or even noticed some blessings if my life hadn't been altered and slowed down in the way it has. And we are we are very, very intelligent human beings that are meant to push ourselves further and farther, and we're meant to tell ourselves, yes, I can, and yes, I will, and we are meant to be dreamers, and too often we allow others to define who we are, how far we'll go, what we're made of, what we will do and won't do, what we're capable of. It's bullshit. And the people that I have found that are the most incredible people that walk this earth are those who know suffering. Because those are the ones that capture happiness like you wouldn't believe. They capture it and they hold on for dear life because they know what it means to have it lost again and again and again if you allow it. And I hope that was just kind of a reintroduction, kind of my side of some of you know the goings on of my health. But we have so much more to talk about and so many more topics to talk about, um, and so much to laugh about. I've said it before, I'm sure a few times. It's our favorite thing to do is love and laugh, and we certainly hope that we can bring that into your lives, as many of you have brought it into ours. And I personally cannot thank you guys that put yourself out there trying to make this world a little bit better. You just don't understand the impact you might have on. I don't care if it was a single life and that person decided that they were worth something because of you, because of maybe something you said, because of you making sure they felt the inclusion.
Hey, Char Char. Hey, Ellen.
There's,
Got it.
it's not a little thing
Ellen.
to influence. Um, you know, if you consider yourself an influencer or you have been called an influencer, you'd be damn proud of that. You'd be damn proud of that because, and if you are someone that gets on there, does anything positive to make someone smile or laugh or think of something in a different way or help them get through another day, an hour, a minute, damn right you're an influencer. You deserve that title. And, I know I've been jumping on Rex's channel, kind of hijacking it. Uh, I couldn't do it without him. I simply couldn't. And he's helping me hopefully realize my biggest dream, and that is to reach and be welcomed into the homes of a whole lot of people suffering, because it's quite an honor to walk among those who know what suffering is. Um, but also besides that, I said I would talk about what we'd like to start doing very soon. Um, in each live, we'd like to start playing some sort of a game, and we'll figure it out. And eventually, we will talk about different topics, anything from other physical illnesses, chronic illnesses, mental illnesses, diseases, um, uh, what it is to have PTSD, what it is to be a veteran PTSD, what it feels like for someone to be, um, just we have so much richness in our life with so many different things that have taught us quite a bit, and so many amazing people. We hope for this channel to grow to be to where we are eventually interviewing one of you guys, you know, and and we get to learn about you for that week, and we get to have the spotlight on one of you, and in the way that you would like it, of course. Not everybody likes to be seen, and not everybody likes to, even if it's something that you sent to us an email and we read about it. That's what I want. I want the spotlight to be on every subject and every type of person, and I want to know your thoughts and your struggles and your dreams and what's making you hang on, what's making you tick, just like in our title. What Anyway, coupled with that, I thought it would be fun, and I do get overly excited. Rex will probably laugh as I start saying this again, but through the years, I have certain things that make me feel just human, or so amazing. Products I couldn't live without, basically. Things I couldn't live without. Services I couldn't live without. And as we go along, um, those products, different products will be featured. And it basically, I love, like at Christmas time, one of my favorite things to do that I mostly do for a group of my friends um, is my favorite things, right? Like the song, um, and I'll actually put them in brown paper packages tied up with strings. I love that. And I love that they get to open that every Christmas and they get a bundle of my favorite things. And so that's what we're going to start doing, is featuring different products that Rex or I love and that are fun or helpful or just beautiful, whatever the reason. And then we will be doing giveaways um, with each live, and hopefully that will be more often and bigger as time goes on, and that will just be amazing. That truly amazing. When we really start to get to know all of you, and we get to start sending gifts out to you guys as we play games, and part of our lives will be kind of feel like a little bit of a game night, and nothing could make me happier. Nothing could make me happier.
You know, it's you talked about influencing and FamRight and others join. Char, you say Rex is an influencer, and I know that you know that that is primarily because the platform is happening just more on my username, and of course, my
Yes, he
inspiration and
is.
influence is Nell. So I appreciate.
No, right, you are on your own.
Well, no, I'm just saying that um, I know Char that you're talking about both Nell and I. So I wanted to call that out, and I also just want you to know that that's an example where here she's talking about just the influence of that people have had with her from the YouTube channels that she's watched and how she wants to make an impact to other people because she knows that it's influenced them, but she may not see herself
And can I go quick? Well, no,
as an
I
influencer or
don't. I
someone
know.
who's
I
inspirational,
actually don't. Um,
right? You,
right. And I also, I
and let's
know,
show her some love, you guys. She's wrong. She's the influencer, right? Char,
I just know there's not a lot of,
give me an amen. Go ahead.
with all of the people that are so dear to me that have their chronic conditions that I've watched over the years, you'll notice something and there's not a lot of chronic pain. You won't see a lot of chronic pain warriors out there
Hmm.
because it is very difficult to live and plan with something like this. It's a lot of people that have serious conditions, even they can plan better than even a lot of people with chronic pain because it just, like I said, the last 2 weeks, 4 different times I told Rex, let's plan on this night. 4 different times I planned on getting ready and sitting next to Rex. And tonight I just was like, it's not going to work that way. At least not yet, not now. This is why you won't see a lot of people with chronic pain on any platform.
Is there when that's whether
They
it's because they're
literally
hiding or they're not
oftentimes are
they're down
trying
on
to
them.
breathe. And then once they get through something, because I'll tell you, I call them flare ups when I get really bad pain. The longest flare up I've had was damn near 48 hours. 2 straight days. And when I say flare up, it's pain between an 8 and a 10. And I tell Rex all the time, I hate that damn chart. I hate that it only goes to 10. Because, especially, I said, want to know what I'm going to do? Because I'm not an artist, but I can handle art fairly well. I'm creating my own chart that's going to go past the crying stage, okay? So we're going to have an 11 through 15 is what we're going to do. So I'm going to create that
Imagine
chart.
the faces of the 11 and the 15.
Exactly. Let me show them what's past the 10.
Shall I try one for the camera?
Well, breathe like you're in labor, number one. Um,
It'd be pretty.
but the flare-ups can last so long, and can you imagine trying to breathe through that and just mentally that would lay someone flat. And it's no exaggeration to say you've just run a marathon or two or three. Um, and then comes the crash. Now, the crash does not mean that my body goes to sleep. Crash just means I lay here like I'm in a coma, but awake. It just means that my body has nothing, nothing left to give. It's been so bad the past couple months that we walked down and we had a good laugh about it. And it was the moment I decided there are two type of plants that will be in my home from now on. Fake or the snake plants, like that never die. But you can because we went downstairs. I hadn't been even downstairs for over a month. That's how debilitating my condition is. And we go down, and my teeny lemon drop fern, which my heart was, uh, that little plant had my heart crispy. I look over the other plant that had my heart that looks like a little bonsai, crispy. The little teeny tree in the corner that I felt all my favorites, crispy. We had a good laugh about it, but I was slightly heartbroken too. But I just was, I can't, you can't, I cannot plan. I cannot move some days, many days. Uh, and when, let's say, when the girls are on here, uh, my kids, boy, they're life to me. I will save my energy for when we have our little family moments and when we have our little granddaughter over here and the girls will hop on over to see their niece, so in love with her. But that's what I save my energy for.
And Char, you're still here with us, and she follows us pretty closely. And I appreciate you sharing the comments here. Thank you for also following Nell as part of everything that's coming through this, um, this space, and also, seeing uh, our granddaughter, right? In some of them, she says, "I
Yeah.
use my diffuser to get energy and relax every day."
Yep, got the diffuser. Amen, sister. That actually, ironically, is one of my favorite things. Uh, so a diffuser and some Young Living oils. Now, don't come at me if you're not Young Living. Just I've been a part of Young Living, or have been using Young Living oils for 18 years. So I don't play. Uh, but I absolutely respect anyone that if you're getting enjoyment out of any other company's oils, if enjoyment or peace or rest or whatever it is, if it gives you a little bit of energy, I don't care. I do not care. I've never been one of those people that get, you know, angry or hurt or offended if someone else is using a different product. I do not
Peppermint
care.
lavender is the best
Yes,
for her.
beautiful. That's awesome.
And Abby's joined again.
So yeah, one of the giveaways will be a diffuser and an oil set. So that's awesome that you mentioned that.
Yeah,
And
we love Young Living.
yeah, and
Not
just
sponsored
diffusing
by them or anything.
oils and using them on our bodies, in our bodies, cleaning the home. We use them as much as possible. Um, and in that in that area, just that area alone, we have been very blessed to be able to get products, and you'll see those products being up for grabs in one of our games one of these times. And so
Hmm.
I cannot wait to get some of these products into your homes and to get to know all of you better. Um, what a joy it will be. And
She says right now my diffuser is one, so I am so relaxed.
It's what?
It's on,
Oh yeah, that's neat. Well, we'll
and
have
then
to. We've got a lot of different emotional oil mixes, so yeah, that actually might be a really get some basic oils in a kit and some emotional ones and
Abby says, "Yes, using my Young Living face wash right now."
the blossom. Good girl. I love those girls. One day we're gonna get our kids on here, you guys. They're the funniest kids ever. They're hilarious.
All in time. Like I said, we're getting closer and closer to.
They will because I also like I said as we move into different areas and different topics, they have their own stories and their own struggles and their own victories, and I would love to have them be a part of sharing
Yeah,
as they're ready and if they're ready. But seriously, there isn't a moment when they're around where I'm not smiling or laughing. Um,
Abby says, "Yeah, I love it," referring to the.
yeah,
And she says, "I'd love to join a live with you guys.
I would. Abby's got
We'll hold it to you, beautiful."
Abby's
Amazing.
Abby and Ellen are strong little buggers. I'll tell you that. You know, they're young, but they've already got their stories to tell. And
Oh, and they've got their
besides their
version.
own
Can you imagine
personal
hearing some of
things,
their
they
version?
besides their own personal things that they've
Yeah,
gone through, well, they've gone through watching and being a part of a mother that's had a really serious chronic condition. And I would love for them to share their input and their outlook on what that was like and
yeah, 100%,
um, what that
100%.
was like for them and what it's like for them now and how they how that might have changed them. But they're pretty incredible. We have three absolute miracles, and now with our little granddaughter, boy, she's a healer for sure. I don't think there's a person that she is not that'll she is just a people person. She's just turned 5 months. Is it today? What's today? Is
14?
no, that was
No,
Sunday. Oh, she just turned 5 months, I think yesterday or the
16?
day before, but she is the most she studies your face. She doesn't she's not shy whatsoever. And when she smiles, it is huge. And she smiles a lot. And she just is a little healer.
Yeah, go if you want to, if you haven't seen our little mini
Yeah.
indie, I've got a post of,
Got a
uh,
few of them of Ninny.
yeah, yeah, Nell and I had a sleepover, and while she was napping, I was able to break out some of the toys that Nell has kept.
From our kids. We've kept some of their toys.
And so,
And we've been slowly making one of our rooms into a nursery for our grandkids. And so one of these days we'll give you guys a tour
uh,
of because I love artwork and I love decorating and so hopefully one of these days we can finish up. We're almost done with a lot of the rooms, a lot of the house, but you know, one thing at a time, right? So,
yeah,
yeah, I can't wait to start to hear from you guys. And if when we're talking in some of these lives, please feel free to comment because I would love to read them and I would love to or reach out to us for email. I'm sure Rex, you have your email on there, or direct message, or I don't know how it works, but reach out to us and let us know what you may be going through and if it's something that you would like to talk about on one of these lives, or um, but definitely share this or share the channel. Eventually, we'll get it all put together a little bit better. A channel that we both are wanting, and not just me hijacking Rex's. But
Char, you can, yeah, he says, I would like to stay, but I need to sleep. It's almost 4 in the morning. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you
thank you so much,
for
and have a
joining.
wonderful day.
We should have the full recording uh, uploaded to YouTube, so go check that out.
Yep, we're trying to build our YouTube, so share that and like that as much as you can, because our YouTube will be able to pull people up on panel more easily, and the comments don't cut you off after your 150 characters, which drives me insane.
Yeah, thank you for joining 4 in the
Thank
morning. I don't know
you.
where you're at. I don't know
Where
what
are
time. What
you?
time
Is
is
it
it? Where are you
Char
at?
or
Where are you
Shar?
located before you go, Char? Are you in Europe or something? Wait, with 4 hours. What time is it?
That would be, I don't think there's that much of a difference. She'd have to be further.
What does your phone say?
It's 7:45.
Oh wow,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, it's a big
7:45. Oh,
difference.
she's in Denmark.
Wow,
Char, I didn't know you was in Denmark. I don't.
that's
For some reason, I thought you
amazing.
was in the States, like on the East or something.
Oh my word, that's gorgeous there.
Wow.
We've got to talk and got to send us some pictures. Just send me some pictures and I'll
Norway. It's not.
imagine
That's
it
Norway.
there.
Yeah, I served a Christian mission in England and was in uh,
Southwest.
what's that?
Southwest.
I was in South Wales, Trowbridge, Yeovil, and Bristol. Well, it was the Bristol mission. And I was in yeah, Trowbridge, Yeovil, South Wales.
Oh,
Oh, but Denmark. Yeah, no, Denmark. She wants to move. But anyway, it's a beautiful place up there. But
well, you get some rest, and I'd love to hear more
yeah, that's
about
great.
you.
That's great that you.
Thanks for all your support
Yeah,
always.
you're an amazing spirit. I love seeing your posts, and some of the posts that you post are of the beautiful. Now that I know of
Yeah.
Denmark, so keep doing you and go get some rest. Thanks for joining. You're welcome. You're welcome. Much love. Well, as people have come and gone, and how the whole thing's going to be recorded on YouTube.
Well, and if you guys have suggestions too of what might be easier, what you would be more interested in, what, um, myself would be eager to hear that.
Yeah. But I did want to mention before maybe we
Close
close
out.
for tonight is I had no, was there anything else that you wanted to share? Because I was just going to kind of share some of what's happened, good things you put real quick before we end.
Yeah, but that's not too big of a deal yet.
What's that?
I'm,
Is that
yeah, because anything else can be in other lives, but it,
okay? But yeah, before we jump off, JT Laybourne and Scott Henry both been on Good Things Utah, a TV Channel 4 news station here in Utah, and they were invited and talked about the things that were important to them, and that's been amazing.
they are.
And I had reached out um, to one of the producers and let them know that if they're interested in hearing about a chronic pain warrior because it's something that we feel
Now, he does this without my knowledge.
is under
I just, I,
underrepresented. I think it's
it can
underrepresented,
be. Yeah.
and that's something that Nell and I have through all of our messages that there's never this more important than anything else, right? It's not that
No,
you're
not at all.
competing against the American Heart Association, the success that they've recently had,
No, oh no, my word, that's amazing.
but anything that we can do in my interest to not only bring more purpose to what Nell has been going through and to kind of have her have a voice as that can reach out to those that she's explained of why she wants to reach out to them. You never know how things can kind of progress. And so I got a response from her this morning, and so look at some of the details of the post that I just created. But even if they don't invite me, or if she's not able to go, just the fact that she took the time to reach out and invited me to send a request to their email meant a lot.
That, yeah, that's amazing.
It meant a lot. So we'll see if we're able to have an opportunity to kind of go there and to spread the word about some of these things that we have both been sharing. But I wanted to just mention that because with that happening today, and letting know that they have expressed that interest in her story was really touching. So I thank you for Good Things Utah, and for all of those that are involved with considering um, that and learning more about Nell's story. It means a lot to us. So we'll see where things go with
Good.
that.
Thank you for being here and sitting through our shenanigans.
But
It's a lot of incredible people around the world. Uh, I cannot wait to get to know you guys and have our little group grow larger and larger. You guys are just amazing.
and one of the things that I like to think of it as is helping light the fires of hope in areas that can often be dark places. And how fitting it is that as I'm trying to do that for her, and of course I've got my own love for those that are also experiencing similar conditions. It's it's what she's also trying to create for others, even when she needs it herself. And that's the definition of inspiration. And she is. So thank you, Ab. We love you too. Love to hear that you love us so much from here, even though you're here so often. So it's kind of fun to have you in the lives. Um, but we'll for sure get your pretty face in front of the camera, show you off a bit.
Yes, our girls. Um, I love you guys to meet our son too. And anyway, but you will in time. I'm their mom. I'll get them to. But have a wonderful night, day, morning. I don't know where you guys are, but have a wonderful time wherever you are, and treat yourself with care and love.
So whether you've joined us live, whether you've catch this in a recording on YouTube, we hope that you feel, as we've mentioned before, that you belong. And we love you.
Oh, sorry.
Are you breaking out in song?
Yeah,
Shenanigans.
just a lullaby. Never mind.
Oh, you're starting to sing a
Yeah,
lullaby?
just tell them they belong to me. Just kidding.
I'm also hearing a
Yeah,
siren.
we're also hearing sirens, so we're a little
Time
bit
to go.
confused.
So
Or
we got a
quite a few of them
lullaby.
actually.
The irony in that. Oh, I hope that they're okay. I hate hearing
Yeah,
sirens.
it's quite a few sirens.
Okay, well then take us out with the lullaby again instead of the
Heck
siren.
no, one time.
What was
One
it again?
time did it. One time's all you get.
I missed it. All right,
That's it, y'all.
we're out. Love you guys.
Bye, guys.